game is Take the Wheels. So Take the Wheels is an arcade racing game with kart-like elements of power-ups and things like that. A lot of the focus is on getting a car from point A to point B, obviously. However, I've changed it up a little bit. So a lot of people are used to going forwards and backwards pretty easily. So using the triggers to accelerate and brake. Slight change on that. So think of it. Control scheme is using asymmetric thrust, so asymmetric controls. So as I've been describing it with some people, think of it like like rowing a boat but with rockets. So you row with your left, or you go towards your right. You row with your right, you go to your left. Go both at the same time. You go forward. But then of course the car itself is a hover car, so a lot of drifting potential and things like that. So a lot of the development has gone into those kind of things. It's a lot of focusing on getting the controls to feel right, because it will feel fun to play. The one thing people kind of don't want to do is learn a control scheme, but if you can teach it in a way that people can understand it very easily, or in a way that people immediately click with it and go, oh, that's how it works, you can see the penny drop, and it's a great feeling to see. The concept actually started out as what happens if you and 3 friends all controlled one wheel of a car, and the car itself had like spherical wheels. So it'd be very easy to accidentally, say if one person went forward and another person went back, very easy to flip out of control. And then the whole thing was going to be like a puzzle game kind of thing where you're meant to navigate, or even just a racing game in that sense. It was for about a month. It was like that concept. This was back in 2020, so this is actually, funnily enough, a COVID project. Then I decided, it might be interesting. There's a demolition derby game, which lasted for about all of 2 days, when I realized, I have to actually make 3D models that can deform and things like that. Also, and then it developed from the demolition derby game into a racing game. And I went, okay, let's go more from a racing game, arcade racer. And then it kind of clicked in my mind going, power-ups would work pretty well. So, power-ups, for example, you've got your normal, your speed power-up, your shield power-up to protect you from any negative ups. You've got a missile attack, which would slow you down if you get hit by a landmine, which does the same kind of thing. But then also because of the control scheme, because where you're using both the left and the right joystick, or if you're on keyboard, you're using WS and arrow key forward, arrow key backwards for the left and right side accordingly. And so you can have a lot of interesting power-ups based on that. And it's actually quite fun to been developing them and describing them with friends and going, man, I was confused with the controls, but I hate you even. I don't like you even more now for coming up with that idea. This game did start out as a bit of a COVID project. So I kind of had the idea when I was going to sleep and just said, okay, I want to kind of remember that. So wrote it down before I fell asleep, and woke up and went, actually, that seems like fun to work on. Got a very, very rough proof of concept ready just to kind of see and play, and it felt interesting for me to play. So I was like, okay, if I find it interesting, then maybe some other people would. So got a couple of friends to give it a try, and they were like they just were just like, what on earth? This sounds insanely weird. But then then I played it and went, this is actually a really interesting game. The car was literally just a cube that just had 4 spheres on each wheel, which I think the reason that got changed is because the wheels were spinning so fast. It had bounced the car around. So from that point on, I went, no, I'll try. I found a tutorial that turned it into a hover car, and I was like, okay, that would work better, and it works pretty well actually. And from then on, it's stuck as a hover car. So it developed more and more from there. And then about a year later, first time I kind of showed it off to the public, and it was quite interesting. I mean, it was the first time that I myself had a game that I'd made play tested, or exhibited, and it was very interesting for getting feedback from that one too. It was still extremely rough in development. A lot of people, the public who played it, a lot of people actually found it quite interesting. That was the main thing that I was kind of seeking out. So I worked off that kind of feedback, and especially describing the controls better, so I didn't have to kind of sort of baby the game kind of thing. It's an interesting control scheme to get the hang of, but once you've got the hang of it, a lot of people find it extremely satisfying to control. There's a few things that are a little bit on the roadmap, so to say. There's a couple of milestones with the game. So one of them actually is partially gotten done, and that's having bot support, so you can race against AI. Because one of the trickier things is, as well, with the controls, is making an AI or a bot to play it was actually surprisingly challenging initially. I mean, obviously some more tracks, things like that. It does need a lot of the stuff does need a lot of performance improvements, because I was playtesting it about 3 or 4 weeks ago, and the biggest thing was performance. That needs to be something to work on.
What's your go-to caffeinated beverage when working on the game?
So I personally don't like coffee or tea, or I don't drink those kind of drinks, but it's more of a thing, say, if I just happen to have a soft drink or something nearby, say it might be Fanta, Coke, Pepsi Max, that kind of stuff, it would be something like that. Otherwise, it's normally just normally just a bottle of water or something like that.